Hello, everyone. My name is Chris, and you are listening to the very first episode of Single Player Mode, a video game culture and news podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about two companies. We're going to be talking about Microsoft, and we're going to be talking about Nintendo. And what I'm going to be discussing is the recent decisions that they've made over the past years, and even in this year, the recent news that's come up about these companies. And I'm definitely going to be talking about my criticisms that I have on both these companies, and I'm also going to name some positives too. But first, let me just say, for any company, this applies to any company. Companies are not your friends. They are there for your money. They look at you like you're an ATM machine, like you're a wallet waiting for them to give you all their money. That's what their main goal is. Their main goal is to make money. And I know console wars have been going on forever. That's pretty much part of the culture now, but really, these companies, they don't really care about you. They really just want your money. So it's fair to criticize them, but you can also talk about some of the positives that they've done as well. It's okay to like their products. A company does something that you don't agree with, call them out on it, because ultimately you're the one giving them the power, you're the one giving them your money. And so with that said, I'm going to be talking about Microsoft, and there's a lot of positive things that I have to say about Microsoft right now. So when Microsoft first released the Xbox One, they've really come a long way since then. They did really good with the Xbox 360, and then when they first showed the Xbox One, it was pretty much a marketing disaster. They had the always online component, they had the mandatory Connect that went with it, and due to that backlash, they kind of had to backtrack and take all that back. You don't have to always be online. Connect is no longer required. But the damage had already been done, and consumers turned to buying the PlayStation, and the sales were much higher for the PlayStation than they were for the Xbox One. Well, since then, Microsoft has done a much better job at marketing and finding an audience, especially with their Game Pass. Before I talk about Game Pass, I do need to talk about another problem that they've had, and that's first-party exclusives. Sony has always had an advantage over them when it comes to first-party exclusives. They have the Spider-Man and the Horizon Zero Dawn and the God of War. Microsoft doesn't really have that many first-party exclusives. And even now, all the games that come to Xbox also come to PC. But Microsoft has thrown money whichever which way and has done a good job acquiring many different companies. An example of this would be acquiring Bethesda Softworks. And that brings me to the most recent news, and this is probably one of the craziest news to hear concerning video games, and it concerns Game Pass, is that a Sony exclusive, what used to be a Sony exclusive game, MLB The Show, is coming to Game Pass day one. So MLB The Show 21 is coming to Game Pass day one. And if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you can play the game for free. Now, this game is made by a Sony-owned studio. It's always been a first-party exclusive for Sony platforms. Now, Sony recently came out and said, this was MLB's decision. They want to try to bring the MLB video game franchise to a larger audience. But really, that's a hard, punch in the face to Sony, because now, if you have a PlayStation 5 and you want to play it on that, you're going to have to fork out the $60 to $70. While those on Xbox who are subscribed to Game Pass, they can play the game for, quote, free, unquote. It's kind of a weird situation now, because now you have a Sony studio with having one of their games on a competing platform. And that, of course, brings me to Game Pass. So Game Pass has really evolved, much like Microsoft's marketing decisions and the decisions they've made over the years. Game Pass has really evolved to be something really great. When it first came out, there weren't really many games on it that interest me. They were mainly old games. But now, ever since Microsoft said that all their first-party games were going to come to Game Pass day one, it's really grown since there, and now there's hundreds of titles on it. And like I just said, any first-party game that comes out, whether that's the Gears of War or the Halo, you're going to be able to play it day one on Game Pass for free, as long as you're subscribed to the service. It's truly become like the Netflix of gaming. You can just scroll around and just download a game here and there and play a little bit. And if you don't like it, you can just uninstall it. Really, Microsoft's strategy, they don't seem to be focusing on the console sales. Rather, they're trying to sell you subscription. They're trying to sell you subscription model. They want you to play Game Pass on your phone with the xCloud. They want you to play on your PC. They want you to play on your Xbox. There's been talks of rumors that Game Pass was going to come to Switch. I don't think that's going to happen, even though Microsoft and Nintendo are pretty buddy-buddy. They have, Banjo-Kazooie and Steve from Minecraft and Smash. Ori and the Wisps is on the Nintendo Switch eShop. I don't really think Game Pass would come to Switch. That would probably, a lot of their games would require the cloud to run on there. But yeah, Microsoft just wants to sell you subscription. They want to sell you Game Pass. That's what they're trying to really push, and they've done a really good job of that. They've also done, like I mentioned, they're acquiring all these first-party studios. They've done a good job about that as well, trying to build up that base. And who knows, maybe we'll see, Spider-Man on Game Pass or Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn's already on PC, so maybe we'll see it on Game Pass. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a time when there's no console exclusives and anybody can play any game on any platform, which I don't think will happen because a lot of times, consoles can still sell a system. I mean, the first-party exclusives can still sell a console. You can look at, the PlayStation 4 with Spider-Man, like I mentioned, God of War. But overall, I've been really liking Microsoft's decisions lately and what they've been doing. Like with Bethesda Softworks, all their games now are pretty much on Game Pass. So it looks like they're just trying to buy all these studios and just put all the games on Game Pass, which is fine for me. Rather just download a game on Game Pass and play and beat it, and go in and pay $60 for it. If I really want to own it, I'd wait till the price drop and get it when it's like $20, and then I have a physical copy as well. But I've spoke mostly positive about Microsoft, so let me get into criticisms, but not about Microsoft, but about a different company, Nintendo, and the recent event that happened with their software is these limited time releases. So March 31st has passed, and sure enough, the Mario 3D collection is gone. The Mario 35 Battle Royale is gone. The Fire Emblem game that was localized for the Switch for the first time ever, the very first Fire Emblem that's never been localized until now, that is also gone. And I'll give Nintendo some credit. They did tell us straight away that this was a limited time release. But really, it's shady. There's no reason for them to be limited time besides the fact they're trying to create artificial demand, and it worked. The Mario 3D collection sold millions and millions of copies. But now, you can't even get it digitally anymore. There might be a few retailers that might still have it, but if you want to own it, you're going to have to look for it on eBay, which they can price gouge that. But that game is just no longer there. You cannot download it. You cannot play it. Same thing for the Mario Battle Royale game. There was not really any reason why I feel like that had to go away because that was a free game. It's not like Nintendo was making money off of that. That was a free game exclusive to Nintendo Switch Online members. That's just gone. There's no way to download it. There's no way to preserve that in gaming history. The Fire Emblem game, that was about like $7, $7 or $8 for the first Fire Emblem game. That is gone. You can no longer get that anywhere. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why for the Mario releases, their marketing reasoning for those being limited time was, oh, this is a celebration for Mario. That's why it's limited time. Okay, so then why is Fire Emblem? Why was that limited? That doesn't make any sense. That game has never been localized until they put it on the Switch. And now there's no way to play it that way. There's no way to play it in English. Why did that have to be limited time? It was a $7 or $8 eShop release. I'm sure it wasn't making that much money. You could have kept it on the eShop, and you probably would have sold a lot more of it if it had been kept around longer. I was probably going to purchase it, but I forgot that it was limited time, and now it's too late. Unless for some reason they decide to bring it back. But then they won't be able to sell us on the limited time model anymore because they'll say, oh, it's limited time, but they'll bring it back another time. But nope, they said it was limited time, it's gone, and it probably won't show up again. And I am worried about the future of these limited time releases. I don't want a lot of their games to be this limited time thing. You know, there's talks about the Zelda anniversary coming up. I don't want to hear that there's a Zelda collection coming out and that's going to be limited time as well. And they talk about how it's a celebration. Well, if it's a celebration, why was the most minimal effort put into the Mario 3D collection? Like, that was just a strange release. They would put some effort into it, like they touched up the textures in Mario Sunshine and in 64. They made Sunshine widescreen. But then there's just some strange decisions, like they left in the mandatory touch controls for Galaxy when you're playing in handheld mode. And even when you're playing on the TV, you still have to use motion controls in the menus. Like, they could not have bothered to make that so you can just push a button. The Mario 64 port is the worst port that I've seen on a Nintendo system. You're better off just finding an old Nintendo 64 somewhere and playing that because it's much better. The original is much better. And take in mind, these games are just emulated on there. And the emulation on Mario 64 is just really poor. It's not even full screen. The menus does not seem like a celebration. It's literally just the 3 game icons, and then their soundtracks. Like, who's going to sit there and listen to the soundtracks? Like, there's no extras, there's no unlockables, there's no galleries. If you look at their past celebrations, like the Kirby collection, that had so many different extras on it. Or like the Mario All-Stars that was released for the Wii, that I believe that came with a booklet, and it came in like that special sleeve, that special gold sleeve. The Mario 3D collection just came in your standard Switch box. There was no special packaging. There was nothing on it that made it seem like, okay, this is a special release. This is why it's limited time. It's a special release. It's got so many extras. It's got an art book. It's got a CD attached to it. This is why it's limited release. Like, no, it's a standard Switch game, standard Switch case. You open it up, it's just screenshots from the game that could take 20 minutes to put together. The game was clearly rushed, and they clearly just rushed it out just to make as much money as they can on it. They made it limited time so they could sell millions of copies. It's an incredibly shady decision, and I don't agree with it. I love Nintendo's products, Switch, but I can't get behind practices like that. And you're probably thinking, well, why'd you buy the game then? Well, I mean, because I like Mario. I went and paid $60 for it. I don't think it's $60 for it, but I went and did it anyway. So does that help the situation? Am I showing my of this practice by not spending money? No, I'm not. I'm giving them my money. I'm probably part of the problem. But I just wanted to, I wanted to play it. I wanted to see how it was. And I was pretty much disappointed. I didn't really play it that much. I really wanted it just to have Mario Sunshine again. Because really the only way to play it is on the GameCube, which I actually still have. But that's probably going to be a discussion for another podcast, is video game preservation, especially when dealing with Nintendo, how Nintendo poorly handles their old games. A discussion for another podcast, because I could go on and on about that. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about these two companies and the positives that I saw with one company with recent news and the criticisms that I see with another company with recent news. So what are your thoughts about, the Microsoft's Game Pass? What are your thoughts about the limited time releases for Nintendo? You can leave them in a comment below. You can also, send me a direct message on my Twitter account, which my Twitter account handle is CMS0622. Right now, this gaming podcast does not have a Twitter, but I do plan to make one soon, and I'll share that in the next podcast. I also have another podcast, which right now it only has an introduction episode on it, but I am planning to release episodes on kind of more serious topics. It's they write books about these sort of things. And you can follow that on my Twitter. They write books is the handle. So I put all, and you're, never mind, because you're already, if you're listening to this, you're probably on the YouTube channel, because right now this is the only place where the podcast is at. But yes, that other podcast would be on this YouTube channel, Wolf Rose Productions. This is where I host this gaming podcast as well as my more serious podcast on other topics. But yeah, if you like this, give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. And thank you for listening.